Hello everyone, this is Derek. I wanted to make a little intro to this video because this review is actually a review that I found on my computer that I had sort of forgotten that I had done. It was a video that I took a few years ago when I had played Shin Megami Tensei 4 for the 3DS. And I recorded the review, and I don't really know why I never loaded it up to YouTube. But it worked out really well because right now I don't have anything new to talk about because I'm still playing through games. The games that I'm playing through are a little bit on the long side, so it's just been taking me a while to get through them. But I thought, well, what a great opportunity to share the Shin Megami Tensei 4 video, not to mention the fact that with the new announcement of Shin Megami Tensei Armageddon, I believe, or Apocalypse, I can never remember which one it is, but the new sort of sequel to Shin Megami Tensei 4 has been announced, and we've seen some trailers for that now. So I thought, well, it's a good opportunity for me to go ahead and get this review out because there may be some people playing Shin Megami Tensei 4 in anticipation of the new one coming out, which you definitely should because Shin Megami Tensei 4 is amazing. My review is going to go into all of that. But I just wanted to kind of give this little intro because it's kind of strange. If you've followed my channel at all, at the end of this video I will talk about how I'm getting ready to start playing, or I've just started playing Persona 4, and I'm a huge Persona fan, and you know, I have several videos talking about that game and the series, so it might be a little jarring if you've watched trying to figure out why are you saying you are starting to play this this series of games when you've already made reviews on them. So that's just kind of wanted to give my little disclaimer, and also to let you know that I will be making some more videos, hopefully coming up very soon. I'm hoping I'm getting close to the end of a couple of these games, but sometimes it's hard to tell exactly where you are in them. So we will see, and hopefully I will have something for you soon. All right, enjoy. Hello YouTube, this is Derek. I wanted to talk today about a game that I finished a little while back, and actually a game that made my top 5 games of 2013, but one that I had just not done a full video on yet, and that is Shin Megami Tensei 4 for the Nintendo 3DS. Now this was my first entry into the Shin Megami Tensei series. It's a series that's been around for a long time, starting on the Super Nintendo, but a lot of the games didn't come over to America, so especially those Super Nintendo games were only in Japan. But we have had a few on the PlayStation 2, and then now we have the most recent entry on the 3DS. And this was a really spectacular game. I had such a good time with this game, and I was honestly a little surprised at how much I enjoyed it and how much time I wanted to invest into it, how addictive the game became. I tend to get bored, I guess, with games after about 30 or 40 hours, and I put over 90 hours into that game. So it's a testament to how good it is that it was able to hold my attention for as long as it did. Now, there are some issues with the game. It's not perfect, but I think that it's still a really solid role-playing game, and if anybody that loves turn-based combat, loves dungeon crawling, loves, you know, the old standard aspects of a role-playing game, of a JRPG, they definitely need to check it out. So I want to start off talking about some of the things I didn't like, simply because I like to end on a positive note. So the things that I didn't like about the game, for the most part, it really is the pacing is a little strange. For the most part, it's not bad, and there's a lot of stuff in the storyline that's really interesting and good, and a lot of things that keep you going forward, but the pacing is a little bit strange. Now, there is one part of the game that really made me upset, and I'm not going to get into any spoilers in the story. However, I guess there are some kind of spoilers about the gameplay itself, so if you're really sensitive to that, I'll put on here the time that you can skip ahead in the video to, so that you can bypass this if this is something where you really just want to go into it completely fresh. But it's not going to get into the story, so don't worry about that. It's just gameplay. So there are 3 different endings that you can get in the game. There's an ending for law, one for chaos, and one for neutral. Now I ended up getting the neutral ending, which I actually read is a little bit difficult to do if you were trying to do it. I wasn't trying, I was just going along, and that's what I ended up hitting on. But the problem with that neutral ending is that you get to a point in the game where, honestly, I felt like I was getting to the end of the game. Like, there was so much happening in the storyline, I thought, this is it, this is the final end of the game. And then you finish what you're doing, and they dump you back into the world with no clue, no guidance, no help, no anything. And to me, I don't need a game to hold my hand. I don't need a game to guide me along by the nose. But I need something. I need something. Give me a clue of what it is that I'm supposed to be doing next, so that I know where to go, so I don't waste my time. Because this world is very big, and it is a little bit difficult to navigate, which I'll get into in a little bit. But it's also, I mean, when you do something like that, you basically just have to wander the world until you find that one particular NPC that's going to progress the story. And to me, that's really frustrating. What is even worse about that, in the neutral ending, you get to a point where basically the way you complete the game and you progress the story is you have to go back and complete every side quest in the game. Or at least that's what the walkthrough, I didn't really know what to do. I ended up looking it up in a walkthrough, and the walkthrough said you had to complete all the side quests, which I did, and I finally got to the end, so I guess it was right. But it may be that you don't necessarily have to do all of them, but you have to do a lot. And it doesn't tell you which ones to do, you just do as many as you can, I guess. So I ended up doing them all. But what really stinks about that is that as the story was going along, I kind of started putting the side quests away. I got a few of them in the beginning because I needed the experience and the money. But as the game was going along, I got really into the storyline, and I just wanted to focus on that. So I didn't, there were a lot of them that were in my quest log that I just didn't complete. So here I am, geared up to the end of the game, right where I think the game is going to end, and now I have to go back and fight monsters that are like 30 or 40 levels below me just to clear out a thing. It was just so tedious. And because the game world is difficult to navigate, it made that process so boring and tedious and time-consuming, and it just really sucked out a lot of the fun toward the end of the game, which is where you would hope that the game would be the most fun. So I was really frustrated with that. I was really frustrated with that, and I thought that that was a really poor design choice to make you go back and do a bunch of arbitrary side quest issues. And the other thing was too, is I got to a point where I had done all the side quests that I could find. And I was like, what do I do? I could not progress the story. And so I had to go look up a walkthrough, look up a list of all the side quests in the game, compare it to my quest list, and see which one I had missed. And the quest list doesn't really organize them very easily. There's a lot of ways to sort it, so it was so difficult to go through. And finally I found that there was one person in a random building in a random part of the map that I hadn't talked to. And that was what was keeping me from progressing the story. And if I had not looked up a walkthrough, I would have spent another probably 15 hours or more just wandering the world trying to find that one person, because the world is big, there's a lot of encounters, and it's difficult to navigate. So it's really I feel like it was a bad choice for that ending. Now the other endings I can't speak to, I haven't played through those, but that really killed it for me. And the game has a problem with that in general. There's some pacing issues with it. It's not really bad, but there are a couple of times where you'll get something like that where it just drops you off in an area and you don't know what to do. So I kind of had some issues with that. Okay, so this is probably the part where you people are coming back who skipped ahead. So that's the issues I have with some of the pacing. The other issue is the map, and every review I've read of this game brings up the same issue with the overworld map. Because it really is useless. It's completely useless. It's a huge world that you're in, and the map itself does not have any labels on it. It shows you the map, but the roads that are on it, things, you can't really use that to navigate the world very well, because sometimes it's almost like it's a, this isn't exactly right, but it's almost like it's looking just at a street map that doesn't have anything, but having a lot of construction going on in the area. Well, you can't really use that map to go, because to navigate where you're going, because even though the map might look like it can go somewhere, there's something blocking you. It happened all the time in the game with me. The other big problem I have with it is nothing is labeled. You will have the map, and it has all of these little green or blue dots on the map that represent something. It might be a town, it might be a dungeon, it might be just an area where there is a demon to talk with or to progress a quest. Nothing is labeled. So you have to go to each different thing. In this area, I mean, imagine a game like Skyrim or something. In the game, this world map is not as big as Skyrim, but still, just for context, imagine something like that, but that map has no labels on it, and you just kind of have to remember what that is, and that's extremely difficult. And it made navigating the world very difficult, very tedious, and a lot of my time was spent just trying to find where I needed to go. A lot of time spent looking at walkthroughs, even though I didn't want to. I still, if anybody can get through this game without a walkthrough, you're a better man than I am, because of the navigation. That's what the problem. I didn't have to look up boss strategies or anything like that. It was just like, where is this area again, or where am I supposed to go? And even if I knew where I was supposed to go, I couldn't tell where that was on the map, and I had no idea. And I had forgotten because I hadn't been to that area in 50 hours. So that was really an issue with the game. So that's kind of my negative. Those are my negative things about the game. I like to start there, even though it makes the beginning of this sound sort of negative, but because I want to end on the good stuff, because my goodness, there's a lot of good stuff in this game. There are some negatives, but one of the things I love about this game is the atmosphere that it creates. The Shin Megami Tensei series, you are a samurai. In this one, I think it's different in every game. It's not exactly the same storyline, but in this one, you are a samurai, and you are going and gathering up these demons to fight for you. So it's turn-based, party-based, RPG combat. But you don't have a party. The only human character that you are dealing with is yourself. Sometimes you will have an AI partner that comes along, but they just do throw out a random attack every once in a while. It's not a big deal. The bulk of what you're doing is gathering these demons and using them to fight for you. In a way, it's like a really dark version of Pokemon. Very different storyline-wise, but as far as just that concept of gathering monsters, the monsters that you fight, it could end up being the ones that fight for you, and you level them up, and you develop them, and some of them evolve, and it's very much rooted in that kind of thing. So if you like that collecting aspect of Pokemon, you really will like this game. It just has a much darker bent to it than Pokemon does. So the thing also that's really fun is the fusing of the demons. So you have these demons, and when I read this on the back of the box, it actually looked like something, I thought it was something I wouldn't really get into. I don't always get into the crafting type of thing, or ultra analyzing to try to min-maxing kind of thing. I just kind of play the game. So I wasn't really thinking this would become a major part of it for me, but I was wrong, because it really became interesting to find you have these two different demons, you can combine them in certain ways to create new demons, and the new demons that you create will inherit the spells and abilities from those old ones. And it really made it very addictive, very fun to try to come up with all these different combinations, but also it was a great way to level up your party, because really level grinding in the game, even though for some, there is some use to it, it really felt to me like I would benefit more from fusing, because sometimes you could fuse like a level 53 and a level 55 demon and get a level 62 demon or something like that. And so you would jump up quite a bit by fusing them and get a stronger party, and then go gather more demons to make more. The other thing that's really nice about that system is that when you have a demon, you can register it in your computer, or whatever what it is in the game. And you can then, if you use it to fuse something, you can pay money to summon it back. So if you have a demon that you really love, but it's a component of a demon that you want to fuse, you can fuse that demon, and as long as you have the money, you can buy it back so that you don't really lose that, and you can have the new demon. And I really love that, because it made it less intimidating, because I think if it had been something where I would get a new demon, but I would lose a demon that I really liked for one that I think I would like, it would make it a lot more difficult for me to really play with it. And because of that, even though sometimes summoning, the cost of it can be kind of expensive, there are ways in the game that you can bring that cost down, it still was something that made it a lot more fun to experiment with and play with and have a good time with. And it was really, really very addicting. And it was funny, because at the end of, in the game, it has a log of all your different activities. And I spent something like 5+ hours just in the demon fusing thing, fiddling with stuff. And I had no idea it had been that long, because I do it a little bit here, a little bit there, but it keeps track of it, which is really fun to see how long I spent in there. The other thing is, one thing I have to mention that might be a little off-putting to some people is it does use real religious icons, phrases, iconography. I mean, it uses things that are in real-world religions. And it didn't bother me, and I am a religious person, but it didn't really affect me. I didn't have an issue with it. But just be aware of that. If that's something that you are sensitive to and you think will be offensive, you might not want to play this game, or at least do some research before you do, because it does use names like Lucifer or Shiva, or it has the real religion gods in here, and it can be a little bit offensive if you're sensitive to that. So that's just something I like to throw out there. The last thing I want to talk about in the game is the difficulty. A lot has been made about the difficulty of the game, and any review that you look at will say, oh my goodness, it's really hard. And it is. I mean, the game is a challenging game. But it really was not as bad as I was expecting. And maybe it's because I had heard so much about the difficulty of the game. But really, it wasn't bad except at the very beginning. And that's one of the hardest things. At the beginning of the game is probably one of the most difficult things apart from some of the boss fights. But, I mean, because it reminded me in a lot of ways of Might and Magic 6. When I started Might and Magic 6, I remember I was just, you're this little group of level 1 characters, and you're terrible. You have no skills, you have no abilities, you die if someone coughs on you, and you're fighting all of these hordes of goblins or orcs, whatever, they were green people of some sort. And that game was so difficult in the beginning until you leveled up a little bit, until you got some more skills, until you taught everybody a ranged attack. All of those things really, once you did that, then you felt like you could go out in the world. And there's something really nice about that. It's challenging and it is difficult to start, but it makes you feel really good when you get over that hump to be able then to go out into the world and not be afraid and scared to death after, for every fight that you come across. The other thing is the game really is very forgiving in that it lets you save at any point in the game, anywhere on the map, which I love, and especially in a mobile game. I wish all mobile games did that, because you're on the go and sometimes you need to save in unusual places. But also it has a system where if you die, you can be resurrected at the point right before that fight. And that really is very helpful. And it sounds like that might be game breaking or make the game not challenging enough, but there is a fairly heavy cost to it. You can pay in-game gold, or they call it maca, and that is fine. Boy, it's pricey. It's really a lot of money to do it that way. The better way to do it is to do it with the 3DS Play coins. So if you take your 3DS out with you and get that pedometer built up, you'll earn Play coins in the system, and you can use those to resurrect yourself. That works a lot better. But really, if you save a lot, you're not going to need it all that much anyway. Because really, once you get over that initial hump, most of the trash mobs aren't that bad. You will get some. Sometimes something just happens and they get a couple good hits on you, or your demons that you have up there are weak to whatever it is they're throwing out, and that will mess things up. So that's a great system to have in case you get into one of those situations. But for the most part, once you get out into the world and you have a nice a stock of demons to pull from, you'll be fine apart from boss fights. And just save before a boss fight. The game will let you know when something big's coming up, and you can, as long as you play smartly, you'll be fine. I actually expected myself to have to reduce the difficulty, but I never did. I actually kept it at normal the whole way, and oddly enough, the final boss was one I beat on the first try, which is strange because all of the bosses before then I had to go through many times before I could beat them, but the very last boss of the game I was able to beat the first time, so I felt kind of like a badass after that. But so that's kind of my take on Shin Megami Tensei 4. The thing is, I loved this game so much that I now want to go out and buy every Shin Megami Tensei game that I can get my hands on. I'm almost finished, at least I think I'm almost finished with Persona 4, and I'll be doing a video on that, which is extremely good. And I picked up Devil Survivor 2. I have Digital Devil Saga on my radar. There's lots of games. I just want to get everything in this series because the atmosphere and the setting and the demon fighting is just so cool. It's done so well. And it's such a rewarding and such a fun game. It really is. And I can't believe I put, up until Persona 4, this is the longest I had ever spent on a Japanese role-playing game at about 90 hours. So, I mean, just the idea that I put that much time into it and was addicted to it for that long and was having such a great time, the whole experience is so amazing to me. Because again, I usually will lose interest at about 30 or 40 hours and start kind of get a wandering eye. So it's a fantastic series. If you can get it and pick it up, I do recommend that you get it in this collector's edition. I think this is only like $10 more than the regular edition, and you get a soundtrack and you get a strategy guide. I wish the strategy guide had gone through the whole game. It goes through about the first maybe half of the game, but only because I wanted more maps. That's what I mostly used it for, was to try to figure out where certain places are, because that map is a little bit difficult. If they ever make, whenever they make Shin Megami Tensei 5, I really hope they fix that map issue, because the game could be amazing, or even more amazing. It is amazing, but it could be so much better if you had a decent working map, just to let me know where things are. So, but that's my take on it. If you guys have played the game, if you have opinions on it, I'd love to hear what you think about it. I had a great time with it. I'm so happy I picked it up. Kind of picked it up on a whim. Never played one of the series before, and I'm just so absolutely happy that I did, because it was such a great experience. All right, thank you so much as always for watching.